Hello there and welcome to another chess video. Like I mentioned in the previous video, a lot of chess going on these days, and there's a very interesting tournament in Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi International Chess Festival, and this video is dedicated to, well, an amazing double day that Irene Sukandar had in rounds 2 and 3. It's not every day that well, I've had a similar rating. I'm low rated now, but you know, when you play an open tournament, you sometimes get a chance to play at 2600. Very rarely you get to play at 2700, but I mean, got to do that in round 2 and round 3. Certainly, Jobava right now is only rated 2585, but he has been over 2700 on his best day. He can beat almost anybody. An amazing and creative player. But, you know, he has swings, so, you know, his style is risky, so his rating sometimes suffers. But as we'll see in round 3, he played a proper 2700, fantastic player. But let's start with round 2. So this was a double day. Round 2 and round 3 were played on the same day. And let's see what happened. So Baadur had white, and he opened up with d4. Gonna lower the volume of the moves here. So d4. Sukandar went with knight to f6. Bishop g5. The Trompovsky attack. Black answered calmly with d5, staking a claim in the center immediately. Knight b to d7. And yeah, we see that Jobava isn't playing the Jobava London, which is a bit of a setback here, but okay, exploring other openings here with the Trompovsky. And Sukandar plays very thematically here. g6, bishop g7. And if knight f3, we would have more of a Tory attack, where, well, white has interesting play. You can play bishop d3 and then queen g2. And actually, if black isn't careful, why are my arrows? Where are my arrows at? My arrows are not working. Ah, there they go. They were just lagging a bit. And if you're not careful in these setups, an early h4, h5 can be really, really hurtful. But Jobava had other ideas, and he played f4. So now we have kind of a stonewall attack, but with the bishop already outside the pawn chain. And this can be pretty dangerous. But I like the way that Irene Sukandar played against this. She played c5, bishop d3, and queen b6. So it's always very often useful to target this b2 pawn when the bishop has left the c1 square and can't no longer guard it. So rook b1 has to be played. Castles. And the queen is actually well placed for pressure on this diagonal. And why this diagonal? Well, c takes d4, e takes d4, not much happening. So we need to increase the pressure. And after knight c to f3, black is able to do that with the move knight to g4. Now this hits e3, so white has to react. Jobava reacts with queen e2. But now the powerful move, f6. So no passive chess here. The Indonesian chess queen is playing aggressively here. Bishop h4 and e5. Breaking in the center. White still hasn't castled, so there are some issues. Probably h3 is the move that's called for here, but Jobava, well, he likes to play aggressively as well, so there's going to be a clash here, and Jobava castles. And now obviously this allows e4 winning a piece. And of course, Jobava saw that, but I think his position was getting pretty tricky anyway, so he kind of maybe didn't have a choice but to go for it here. So e4 was played. Sukandar takes out the gauntlet and grabs the piece. So white has to give up the piece. Knight takes e4, but now there's bishop c4. King has to move and knight g5. Danger, danger. Looks like it, but black has everything firmly under control, and Sukandar plays the best move, knight d to f6, covering the knight, which was under attack, and we actually don't have to worry about anything here. Jobava played h3, but we can see in case of a move like knight to f7, we can probably simply just capture it, bishop takes, and either take on d4 first or play queen g7, because when we play queen g7 we hit the bishop as well as threatening this mate down here. So this is not working for white. So he didn't play knight f7, instead he played h3, the knight went back, g4, trying to drum up some play on the king side, bishop d7. But for now it looks like the king is pretty safe. f7 is well covered. Knight g8, the knight wasn't doing much on h6, and now there's no longer a bishop attacking f7, so we can try to improve the knight. Bishop g3, h6, not kicking the knight, and the knight has to jump into e6. And black gets a piece trade, which is usually what you want to do when you're up material. True, we give up protect the pass pawn on e6, but that pawn isn't going much further here. Knight e7 blocks the pawn immediately. Rook d1, and of course we want to trade. I think Sukandar is playing this fantastically. Queen c6, now she wants to improve the queen, bring it to the defense here on e8. Which, well, after rook d6 of course. And now queen d2. And now Jobava starts to have some problems with the rook. After knight c8, the rook actually doesn't have a good square. So he has to play e7, give up his, well, kind of his only prized possession, the pawn on e6. So black is quite happy here. And Sukandar takes the pawn. There's rook e6, queen d7. And now we have a queen trade, so black is quite happy with that. We do get this pawn on g6, but now there's rook f3, hitting the bishop. The bishop has to move. And now it turns out again, we still have problems with the rook. There's no square. Everything is covered by the black pieces, as you can see. So the rook will be lost. And, well, Sukandar is up a rook here. Granted, she can't really move this rook, but it doesn't matter. At any point we can sacrifice the rook for the bishop and be up a piece. A nice tactical move here, of course, white can take it, but then there's rook to f6. And we attack both pieces, and we're going to win one of them. So h4, b6, still the same tactic. g5 takes. And now she just moves in, knight c4, and gives up the rook for the bishop. We're up a piece, and we're going to win more material. Knight d1 was a threat, so we had to spend a move blocking that. Now we get another pawn. Bishop takes c3. And this game didn't last much longer here. The king is coming. We're going to pick up this pawn. We have an extra pawn on the queen side. And after two more moves, b4, Jobava actually just resigned because there's not much to do about the knight jumping in and grabbing this pawn. So a fantastic win, a well-deserved win against a former 2700. And well, the prize for that was in the third round. She got to play. We leveled up. We got a big boss 2700. So let's find that game. Should be here. So now she got the white pieces against Wang Hao. The Wang Hao 2735, kind of semi-retired, I guess. But plays the occasional tournament for fun. Kind of semi-retired after the candidates. The Wang Hao, he's an absolute beast. I have at least one game with him here on the channel, which I posted when he retired. A little known game, but has one of the most impressive king walks I've seen in chess. I'll leave a link to that video. Do check it out. It's going to be in the card above. But let's see what happened in this game. So Sukandar had the white pieces, and we have a Grunfeld. My previous video today was also a Grunfeld video. Pragnananda against Aronian. We have a different line here with bishop to c4 and knight to e2, knight c6, bishop e3, castles. And now an aggressive move, which seems to be the MO of Irene Sukandar, h4. Yeah, I got to witness her strength firsthand at the last Olympiad. Iceland played against Indonesia in the women's section. We did not have a good match, and Sukandar won on board 1. She played last year in the Reykjavik Open, and hopefully she'll visit us again. Very nice competitor. And no problems. It's always nice to get people to your tournament that bring some value to the tournament, and there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with her participation. So Queen d2, she takes d4, she takes d4, and Wang Hao offers a trade of queens with queen a5, rook d1, and I believe bishop d7 is the first new move of the game. Previously, queen takes d2 had been played. Sukandar castles, there's a trade of queens, and here Wang Hao plays a6, which is slightly weakening. Perhaps just knight a5 would have been fine, and the game continues. White is solid, black is solid, who knows what happens. But a6 sort of, it does weaken this square. And if a knight f4, maybe it starts to be felt a little bit, because the knight might be jumping into d5 and then b6. It will be difficult to defend sometimes on the b file as well. Knight a5 was played, bishop e2, and here probably Wang Hao didn't want to allow knight d5 and play e6. But then d5 by Sukandar and e5. And now she takes advantage of this weakening here with the a6 move, the b6 square, and she's able to capture on h5. Knight takes h5. Now black has to take, otherwise we just netted the pawn for nothing. And now bishop b6. And because of a6, this move is available, and the knight doesn't have a square. So the knight must retreat, sacrifice itself, so we at least get a pawn for it. And white has a fine position here. Very solid. Sukandar played bishop f3, but the computer thinks white is better after bishop takes h5. It's maybe not much, but we are controlling the d file. It's unusual to maybe trade a flank pawn for a central pawn. We're going to get very active pieces. Rook e1. The bishop might reroute maybe to b3. And our bishops seem to be more useful. We can maybe swing a rook to the third rank to g3. More pleasant for white, but maybe nothing too drastic, to talk about too much. But what happens now is that more or less the game peters out more or less to a draw here. g3 is a nice move, kicking the bishop, and Wang Hao can't take it because of rook g2. Bishop is hanging and he can't play f4 because rook takes f4, and then next move. Pick up the bishop, so after g3 he actually retreated. But now we just have trades. Takes, and well, white is even temporarily up a pawn. We're trying to take on f7, so Wang Hao must protect it. Rook f4, bishop e5, bishop g4, e6, Wang Hao took, e5, and not much going on here. a5, locking down the majority on the queen side, and rook f6, and it's difficult for black to move, and he went with rook c7, which gives up the e6 pawn, but then we will liquidate to a drawn rook ending, and it looks like Wang Hao offered the draw, which Sukandar agreed to. No reason not to. And that wraps up a pretty fantastic day. Playing two Grandmasters, one current 2700, one former 2700, 1.5 out of 2. That has to be the best day of chess for the Indonesian Chess Queen. If not, correct me, but looks pretty nice. So yeah, I found this interesting from the Abu Dhabi International Chess Festival. I'll keep on watching these and post things that I find interesting, or well, should be interesting to the general viewer. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.